Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Edge. Dark, a little naughty. We'll hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody. So get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight Edge. After dark.
Tonight, Sylvester Stallone Rocky biopic. Marvel is now an underdog. Then more Disney news.
After dark.
You're listening to Midnight's Edge After Dark. Welcome to the program. I am Tom Connors. I am here. I am live. I am not queer, but I'm about to get into some Singapore slang. We got CC Karaoke back in his house.
It's great to be back. Still healing, but healed enough that I can rejoin the show and point a microphone at my face and speak. So, hello.
That's all that matters. And we're glad to have you back after your accident. I don't know if you want to tell everybody real quick out there who may not be aware what happened. That's up to you. But yeah.
Oh, sure. I go skiing every winter. And, it's like during the crowded days, there's lots of people, right? So it's like you always have to kind of slow down like you're in a traffic jam, right? But this was late season. So there was nobody on the mountain but myself. And I was just bombing down it at like 100 miles an hour. Well, not 100. That's 50 miles an hour. But at that speed with really, really hard packed snow, it's kind of like concrete, right? So I hit a rut and I fell face first into said concrete level snow and wrecked myself pretty good. Broke my collarbone and my left hand and beat my face up pretty good. So that's what happened.
So yeah, that's why you haven't seen CC in at least a few shows here. But we're glad to have you back and we're glad to hear you're recovering. And at the very least, you can lay there with a microphone pointing at your face as you said it.
Yep.
Thanks for being here. And we also have with us all 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing tonight?
Hello, Tom. How you doing? Nice to have CC back as well, and good to have Clobby and Price of Reason. I'm sure we have a Superman suit that's going to be touched upon, and of course, we'll talk about another Bob Iger beating. That's an actual beating. A huge one at that. And hello, chat. Thank you for being here. I see our D-buds and mechas and goddesses swinging the wrenches around. I like that shit. Keep swinging. Thank you. And then we lost Tom.
Oh,
Tom,
no.
Tom, please
Ooh.
come back. All right, that's it. We'll carry the show.
What happened?
We got this.
That's it. Now we can have the real party. Finally.
Oh, yeah, we were
Finally, after all these years. I mean,
We're
it's
not
good to
under
see you
any
back, Tom.
supervision.
No, I went to bring in this because you were talking about Bob taking a beating and my whole thing just went crash, boom, bang. Yeah. Scribe put this together for me for a upcoming video here. But we also have with us Price of Reason. How you doing?
Good. I didn't mean anything I said just now.
I didn't even hear the whole thing, so it don't matter.
No, you dipped out, so I said finally, like, we can have the party that we always wanted, and we're all like laughing, and then you came back, so I
Ain't a
quickly
party without me.
we did for like 5 seconds.
I'm the guy who busts in the door and says, "Now you can start the party." Well, we're glad to have you here, Price. How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Also, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's clobbering time.
Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks for having me. Good to see you back, CC. Hang in there, buddy. Price, Nick Eric, brother, and Tom. Thank you all. Great panel, except for me, of course. And look at that chat.
Oh.
Friends in the chat. Good to see you all.
Yeah, this
And,
guy, chat.
Let's
We
keep
know
around
he's
tonight.
great.
Yeah, and
Let's
as Malachi D. Wildman says here, talking the Rocky movie after CC fights the mountain, no irony. Well, he was trying to run up the mountain like Rocky and fell. No, I'm just kidding. And Jay gifted 5 Midnight's Edge memberships. Thank you so much, Jay. That is very generous of you. And we got Goddess of Whim in the house. How you doing, Goddess of Whim? Who sends in $5, says, well, when you fail as hard as Marvel has recently, you're going to be the underdog at some point. Hopefully this means healing process can begin. Well, can you really be an underdog when you were already the champion?
That's a good question.
I'd say they're the waning champion more than they're, because you really can't be an underdog again once you've already been one on the way up.
I get what she's trying to say. She's trying to be hopeful that she wants this stuff to be good again. I mean, should that possibly happen? I think I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but I still think we're pretty far for her to try to be in the most optimistic stance about it. I mean, Bob Iger is not sunken. If we're gonna be truthful, he's not sunken low enough yet to feel like he has to change. Obviously, he's not removed. He's feeling hurt, and this is obviously unforeseen territory for him. But he's gonna need quite a bit more before either he actually makes a change or someone comes in and makes a change. It's still a ways away, but I'm sure we'll get some outliers. I'm not gonna per se that everything is gonna be awful, because that's hopefully not true, but I think you'll have a few outliers until that happens.
Yeah, don't call
Should
it
it happen.
If anything, it'd be a comeback more than an underdog story. But we're going to get into that. That's one of the big topics. But on that note, hello, everybody out there in the chat. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know that we are live. We're also live on X. You want to watch us over there? I don't know how well it works over there, but hello, Elon. But with that, let's keep moving along here. We got a couple topics to discuss. I mean, frankly, I guess we could just start there. We don't have to start with the other story. But basically what Goddess is talking about is the story that's going around because they had a earnings call this morning. And Bob kind of admitted that they had been having a rough time. Yeah. So, but this is actually Kevin Feige here, who says Marvel Studios boss admits 2023 was a rough time, but says if we just stayed on top, that would have been the worst thing. And we learned our lesson. Well, did you, Bob? And did you, Kevin?
Did you really?
Actually, this is Louis Esposito. This wasn't even Kevin Feige. Sorry, I misread this. So Marvel co-president Louis admitted to Empire magazine, it's been a rough time for the Marvel Cinematic Universe following a rocky 2023 that included box office flops such as Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumanium, The Marvels. The latter title is the lowest grossing MCU movie of all time with just 206 million worldwide. Marvel didn't fare better on television, where series such as Secret Invasion were widely panned by critics. What about She-Hulk? Despite the setbacks, Esposito is committed to seeing the glass half full. He told publication, if we just stayed on top, that would have been the worst thing, because that could have happened to us. We took a little hit. We're coming back strong. A little hit? Talk about like almost 3 years straight of bombs. I cannot talk tonight. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe when you do too much, you delude yourself a little bit. We're not
Yep.
going to do that anymore. We learned our lesson. Maybe 2 or 3 films a year, 1 or 2 shows, as opposed to doing 4
Oh boy.
films and 4 shows. Now,
Mhm.
as it points out here, that is exactly what Bob Iger said on the earnings call.
Yeah.
He said we're slowly going to decrease the volume and go to probably about 2 TV series a year instead of what had become 4, and reduce our film output from maybe 4 a year to 2 or maximum of 3. And we're working hard on that, on what that path is. See, here's the thing. They're not learning any lessons.
No, it's just quantity,
No,
quantity, not
one
quality.
bit.
All
Like
about quantity.
once again, it's like, okay, I get the idea of wanting, quality over quantity. That's true, but here's the thing: is it's not just the quantity that's hurting this. It's
No,
just
it's not even close.
Is not good. What they're doing is they're answering this question of the problem. They're trying to do the convenient answer rather than look themselves in the mirror and give you the cold, direct, actual answer. So they're trying to give you the convenient corporate answer because they're not capable of admitting to themselves that they've actually messed up. So to them, just putting out too many gives them an out. It gives them an out to
right.
not take acceptance and accountability for their actual actions.
Yep, that's true.
It's some crap they can sell to investors. Basically, somebody says, hey, all these Marvel things haven't been doing well. So they say, you know what? Our problem is that we bit off more than we could chew. We wanted to make 4 great TV series a year. It turns out we can only do 2 really great ones. And moving forward, that's what's going to happen. But we accept the criticism. Really, we tried too hard. We reach for the stars, and we have to be more realistic now. 2 great series a year, which is really that's such a, like Nick said, it's such a corporate kind of workaround. Nobody here is accepting any kind of responsibility. This is one of the biggest excuses.
It's like if you're working for a restaurant and you're like, man, these burgers taste like shit. I know the problem. We're making too many of them.
Yep. That must be it.
We keep flipping them.
That's gotta be it.
We keep flipping them over and over again.
Can't be the beef. Can't be the seasoning. Can't be how we're cooking them. Can't be anything else. It's got to be that we're ordering too much.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's typical. It's a typical response, which is, I've heard people say, well, they have to say stuff. It's like, no, they don't. They don't have to. They choose to. They choose to because they don't. They're way too arrogant, and they just don't believe that.
If they were wording it in a way, if you allow me, Nick, if they were basically saying, look, we know there's problems. We're going to slow things down and try to evaluate what those issues are. That would be the better way to approach this. And say, we're going to do it 1 movie at a time here. We're going to try and slow things down. That's when you say, okay, the slowdown is for a purpose. Because it doesn't matter, like you guys are saying, if the quality is shit, it doesn't matter if you're chucking out 2 or if you're chucking out 20. They're all going to be the same.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, all indications are they're just going to go MCU 2.0. There won't be as many shows or movies, but it's going to be the same stuff we've been getting. And then those movies and TV shows will fail, and they'll have to find a new excuse. Like, well, the movies were too long. We're going to shorten the runtime, or we released them at the wrong time of the year. We should release them in this month instead of this month. They can come up with 100 different excuses, one after the other, to keep pushing it down the line.
But Iger is consistent in one thing. He's been using the same maneuver for years now. When there was a problem with Star Wars, what did he say? I take responsibility. We've been making too much Star Wars. I take responsibility. We have Star Wars fatigue. He said that then. Each time he just does a different variant of the same nonsense, meaning anytime that his back is to the wall, he comes out with the same stupid story. There's just... We're too darn good. We're doing too many things. And sometimes when you're the best at something, you got to relax and not do so much because it's so great. That's his strategy, and he won't leave it alone. He'll never admit anything bad happened, ever.
Yep. Tone deaf.
He's like, mistakes were made. Not by me, but mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we all know fans can, don't really want too much. We don't want a bunch of things like we only want once every now and then. So
no,
do good things that much. If you do that much good stuff, Bob, people will watch it. You just
prime example.
Yeah.
is like how they can't get enough Taylor Sheridan shows over at Paramount Plus, right? Like,
Yeah.
if it's working and people like it, you keep pumping
gotta
it
watch
out. As
it.
long as it's not garbage, they will keep just watching
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Marvel for 10 years.
We're just too good for everybody.
Well, and I said that we kind of got spoiled by Marvel, and I know you probably agree with me, Claw, because remind everybody that most comic book movies suck.
Yes.
We got very spoiled by how good some of the Marvel films were early on.
It was such a nice stretch there for a while. I mean, obviously they weren't all perfect. They weren't all necessarily great, but you had about a 10+ year spot where you looked forward to the next one. And maybe if it turned out to be that good, you'd go, wow, I'm really looking forward to Avengers, the next Cap movie or whatever, or Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever it is. You looked forward to it. It was kind of exciting. You couldn't wait. And then if one fell flat, then that happens. That's life, right? But now there's nothing. No one's excited about anything anymore, and have not really been since Endgame. No one's excited about anything anymore that they do. You don't build excitement. They just don't know how anymore. They're really
there's no enthusiasm for these things because they're only talking about what quotas they had to meet. And they're not even just talking about behind the scenes. They're talking about the carpets. They're not talking about why this story is good, why this will resonate with an audience, or this will bring an audience back. They're just talking about how diverse it is. Pretty much all the 800 talking points we have heard for the last 3 to 4 years, we're hearing them exclusively. We're not hearing what makes this go, what makes this stand out from the pack, or what makes this thing evolve, what brings it back to the good stuff. No, it's just all about the quotas.
When was the last time you looked forward to any of those Marvel movies? You remember? Can you remember?
The last time they
outside of
Spider-Man,
not since
you go, oh, that looks cool, can't wait to see it. Or I've been looking for that for years. When was that last bit of excitement you had out of the Marvel in general?
Years. Yeah, it's been a few years, and
I'm not even asking when was the last one you liked, the last one you actually really looked forward to, were excited about.
Probably Infinity War.
Yeah,
I would say Infinity War, but that probably was one. And I was excited for Endgame. Endgame, but here's the after that though, even if you take that out of the equation, now it's just wow, I started to see the cracks. For me, some people notice it earlier, some people notice it later. I definitely was noticing it with Captain Marvel, and that was, I guess you could say, where my hesitance started.
Oh yeah,
is with that movie. And then of course, I saw the Phase 4 announcement, and that's when things started really escalating in my mind, because even though I was one of 30 people who knew who Shang-Chi was, I didn't even know who the Eternals were myself. I did it, I'll admit it. And I was just and then they were talking about everything that they wanted to do with the Eternals, even though I was aware of the new gods. I'm like, oh, I see. So you're just putting this up because we got to do our Kirby project, because you've been eating crow just because you didn't get your first female movie out first, because that's why they put out Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel, because they were so mad and spiteful that Warner Brothers beat them at one thing, and that was getting Wonder Woman out first.
Wonder Woman, yeah.
Yeah, they were so spiteful that they not only did they have to get Captain Marvel out, but they needed to make half the lineup, more than half the lineup now at this point, female versions of the characters. If there wasn't then just bring in all the odd, obscure, all new, all different at that, which they're probably going to go in some of that direction, but I'm sure Wonder Woman definitely escalated that direction.
Yepper.
Well, when they bought Marvel and Star Wars, they basically did the same thing, right? They threw all the old canon out and started their own canon, which was nowhere near as good as the old canon. So it's well, we have no source material except the new awful source material that we're writing, and we're going to make those movies based on this new stuff, when they could have spent decades with the existing material, just honoring it.
Yep.
They didn't even want to stay on top.
It's it's a license to print money for decades and decades without even having to write anything new. Just on what was already there.
Here. If we just stayed on top, that would have been the worst thing. It's we're glad we're not on top. Why are you even asking us?
That's where I call bullshit on the whole underdog thing, because that doesn't quite fit the narrative.
Right.
Because an underdog is somebody who's never expected to do well, right? Like that, a perfect example is what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Rocky.
Mhm.
Rocky is a prime example of an underdog, somebody who never got, higher than local ranks, never was seen as anybody more than just some, leg breaker, and he got a 1 in a million shot. Now that is an underdog. Nobody expected Rocky to win, let alone go the distance.
Right.
Right. And that was his whole point in that movie, is as long as I can go the distance, that proves I'm as good enough as these other guys that have been doing this professionally for years. Right. Like, I'm just as good as them. They just got, a better shot at it than I did, or whatever his argument wants to be at that point. Right. But once you become a champion, like, that's the thing. Once you hit Rocky 3, he's not an underdog anymore.
No.
Right.
Even when he's facing Drago, I wouldn't consider him necessarily an underdog.
No, he was
Yes,
definitely not the underdog. He was out for revenge in that movie.
Well, I mean, he's not the one who's favored in the fight.
He was kind of past his prime at that point, but he's still
exactly. He's getting point where he's on the decline. Yeah.
So this is them. They're basically, but they're not even Rocky against Drago. I feel like Rocky against Drago was still undefeated. He was the champion that Drago wanted to face.
Not
whereas
true. Mr. T beat his ass.
Clever beat
People
him.
forget that every time.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
Apollo did too, but yeah.
Right, but the thing is that Mr. T, he did do a rematch, and then he reclaimed his title. So
that's true, but yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I don't even consider them Rocky against Drago. I think that they've just declined. I don't know. I don't know where to put them in the Rocky universe.
I get you. And the only reason I bring up that thing with Rocky is I don't know if I had a Mandela effect. If somebody can verify this with me, I'd be excellent, because I swear, because it's not in the movie anymore. You watch it on video and on TV and everything, it has Rocky's wins and losses correct. But I swear, when the movie was in theaters, they had it wrong. They forgot him getting knocked out by Clubber Lang. It's like, because it had zero losses or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
I don't recall.
Apollo beat him in the first movie.
Yeah, Apollo won the first
two
fight.
losses it was supposed to have, or whatever it was supposed to have on the thing, and they didn't have it. They had it at 0 or whatever. And when I saw it,
is that in Rocky 6?
Yeah, but they changed it, so I think that unless that, or it was just I read it wrong when I saw it in the theater, because I swore when I saw it on video, I'm like, I got to see if because I swear I saw it fucked up. That's one thing, because people always forget that too, that he lost to Clubber.
Yeah,
he did lose to Clubber. That's true.
2 fights. Apollo and Clubber for sure.
Well, okay, but I know what I'm trying to say now. The thing is that Rocky, until his loss to Clubber, had a long, even if Mickey chose easy fighters, he did keep winning all the time. And then
there was has-beens.
No, they was good fighters. In any case,
was past their prime.
So in any case, he still won technically all those bouts, and then Clubber knocked him down. But Disney has had loss after loss. It's as if Clubber would beat them over and over again several times over the past few years.
Right.
To say that
this guy's gonna kill you, Rock.
That was actually a really good impression of.
No mighty Rock.
He's
gonna bomb.
Or like Over the Hill should have retired.
Sorry.
Went on a few years too long.
I love Rocky.
Yeah, Over the Hill, Stacey. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Well, before he was considered in the rankings, though. Yeah, he had tons of them when he was in the.
He got his ass kicked all the time in the old amateur crap. He got crap beat out of him.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the audience is saying, because we're starting to talk Rocky anyway. So Ben Dowdy says, howdy. He's been a member for 8 months. That rhymes. Ben Dowdy.
Howdy.
We've got a pooper sticker, or a fart sticker, let's say, because it's a Shiba dog shaking his ass because he's farting hearts. There you go. Thank you for that, Eldritch Lord Haster, for the $2 sticker. We got Jay in the house, who sends in $5. Says, I think the only failure in Bob's mind is giving up DEI. Profit be damned. They have to last long enough for the complete establishment takeover.
It's a fair call.
It's tough, because we don't know, because he keeps this. Today was like the white flag in a way, but is it right? Like, we know it's a Trojan horse, probably, And I don't mean to mix metaphors here, but you know what I mean? Like, he says these things, but he said these things in the past too, in certain ways. And I think Nelson Peltz is just waiting to pounce. So he fucks up. That's just it. Like, he's on a tight leash right now. So we'll have to see how this goes here with Bob. And then Lost for Words has been here for 26 months, sending in a milestone. Thank you for that.
Hey.
Yeah, but I'm interested in what you guys think out there. Go ahead and say, oh, well, before we move on, I think we have to stick around here for a little bit on this topic because we have the man, the myth, the legend, Valiant Renegade.
Yo!
Superstardom.
Superstar. We were just about to move on to some different business, but I'm sure we'd love to hear your take on the whole Marvel / Disney / call today on how Marvel's supposedly the underdogs.
That was something. Yeah, I had about 20 minutes before I got to leave the house. So I was like, let me hop in real quick. God, that did not go, I think, what Disney planned for it to go. I think, look, Disney, first of all, everybody understand that they've been doing their earnings calls aftermarket on Wednesdays now for at least the last 3, 4, 5 years that I can remember. Because we've been covering now for at least 2, if not 2.5. So they moved it to Tuesday morning.
Which is fine with me because you're not streaming over me for once.
Right? No, but they moved it to Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. So it's 5 a.m. Pacific. It's 5 a.m. where Bob Iger was sitting conducting this call. So I think
he's a morning guy. He's up at 4 or 3 in the morning running and doing his showers. And yeah.
I know, but I think part of this was the thought process. And I had a conversation this afternoon, was following up with our buddy Caroline Reed over at Forbes magazine, and she and I were kind of at the same mindset. And like Bob's thinking that maybe this was like, hey, let's get ahead of the market. We'll have a full day of market reaction. We're going to report the first profit on direct-to-consumer for the quarter ever. But that didn't work out really well because they guided saying that, well, the current quarter that we're in now that we'll be reporting in August is probably not going to look as good. And same thing with the parks and everything else. So you got this horrific reaction today. I thought the one for Comcast last week was kind of bad, where it was down about 6% on the day. But most of that had to do with,
no, they're looking pretty good at this point. And I said that then.
Accelerated loss of like cord cutting and all this other kind of stuff. But this thing with Disney, this is a knife to the throat. Now, I think potentially we could see a similar reaction, potentially worse, Thursday morning with Warner Brothers, but for different reasons. The reaction today with Disney, like I said, Warner Brothers and Paramount is what.
Well, that's because Hollywood has ZDS.
Well, part of that is going to be the fact that Warner Brothers is looking like they're about to lose a very significant piece of NBA. Yeah.
And I think that's what Bob was hinting at today when he was yammering on about sports. I think you're possibly right there. But what they have is they had the biggest movie last year with Barbie, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's not a drop. It's like Endgame. It's great, but that's not even a drop in the bucket compared to live sports.
They also had Wonka at the end of the year. They had other things. I get you. I'm not saying that. But to me, here's the thing. Is it really worth that anymore? That's why I think Zaslav didn't seem to fight for it. At least it didn't seem like it to me.
Well,
I think the NBA is on the downturn again. Like,
I think it is. I think that's part of his thinking. I think that's a lot of what he's going to talk about on Thursday morning. I think, again, because we don't know the details, and I think he may have had to look at it and say, look, what they wanted for what we were getting out of it just didn't match up. And even though right now in the short term it's looking pretty dire, we want to spend this money elsewhere. I'm totally hypothesizing is where he's going to go.
Even football's not in the greatest of shape anymore.
Well, no, football is still the biggest thing on the block.
It's big. It's the biggest. Yeah. I get that. That's my point, though. When even your best is not even doing its best right now.
But here's the thing. Yeah, the NBA is the biggest thing for Warner Brothers. The biggest single asset they have by far is the advertising revenue that they're able to generate via the NBA on TNT. And this is the other part of it. It's also the biggest piece of the pie that they're able to generate from cable subscription revenue. They get about $3 per subscriber for a cable subscriber just because of the NBA on TNT by and large. So if they lose a significant chunk of that, not only are their ad revenues going to get hammered, they're also going to lose upon contract renewals with a lot of these linear broadcast providers like Comcast and Spectrum and so on. They're gonna lose a significant chunk of the revenues that they're getting every month from these cable providers, on top of the fact that people are still cutting the cord. So it could be a real double whammy for Warner Brothers. That's the big thing for them right now. That's what they have to be careful of. And Zaslav is really going to have some magical words come Thursday morning, to allay people's fears. Now, again, that being said, Zaslav is just now kind of hitting 2 years as being in control of the company, or getting close to 2 years. And again, we knew there was going to be a lot of rough waves and rides. They have done a fabulous job up to this point of paying down a lot of this onerous debt that has been destroying the balance sheet.
Well, and he's got the 2 biggest movies of the year so far, too. That was the other thing I was going to
so
finish up
they
with.
have more stuff, but in the short term, Warner Brothers...
Well, that's what I was wondering. Do you think maybe he's looking at it as the long term, it'll cost them less now to just shed NBA and try to make it up on the other end with other things?
I don't think they'll shed it entirely. What I think they're going to do is they're going to have their NBA package is going to look something more like maybe like what Amazon is trying to do in terms of they want to get their hands around maybe a handful of broadcasts, big games every week. Like they're not going to have 80 games a year like Disney and them have had now for the last however many years. They might have 20 or something. I don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. This is all still being in I don't think they're going to get.
Well,
rid of
that was the other
NBA
thing I was wondering:
entirely.
is it because he's running into issues trying to get it for streaming? Like, are the streaming rights separated from the other bit?
Yeah, that's what they're trying. The NBA wanted to have. They still wanted to have linear partners, but they wanted streaming partners. So that doesn't mean that Amazon is going to. Hey, we're going to be the exclusive streaming partner for every game. No. What it means is it's still going to be kind of fettered out among various places. And that's part of the pain in the butt, is that you're going to have TNT and ESPN and Amazon and all this other crap to see all the games, which is not unlike most other things these days with live sports. But
I can hear my dad bitching already.
Yeah. I mean, as it stands right now, I mean, Disney is looking at, they're going to hang on to most of what they have now, but instead of paying 1.4 billion a year that they've been for the last 10 years, it's now going to be like $2.5 billion a year. And they're going to have less content for that much more money. That's just the way it's going. The leagues can get it. People are going to bid it up, and it is what it is. But as far as Disney's concerned, I think people are most concerned. The stock reaction today was the parks. They're saying, oh, yeah, I mean, the parks was okay in the first quarter and all this, but, in the second quarter,
Well, and here was the other thing that was kind of the big hitting question, not to push ahead, but I know you said you only had like 20 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was asked flat out about licensing.
Yep, he was.
To Netflix and other places, and he kind of waffled around it a little bit, I would say. Wouldn't you? Or how would you describe it?
Yes, it was kind of weird. So what Iger said, there was 2 parts to this that, of course, we all kind of got whiplash from, and Andre was there with us this morning too.
Right.
He was asked directly, and I've never ever seen on any Disney earnings call I've ever covered, I've never seen anywhere near the number of questions from the institutionals that were asked today about studios and licensing. My God, like every question had something in it about studios. If it wasn't sports,
almost
it was
like
studios.
they have kind of partially figured out that this
there's
whole
a
idea of
problem.
having your own streaming service and paying yourself for your shows and movies is not profitable.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the headline. In the past, CEO Bob Iger has eschewed the idea or the thought saying it would be like selling nuclear weapons technology to a third world country. Well, it worked for Bill Clinton, I guess. And now they're using it against us. Look, here's the thing with this. What Bob Iger said today when he was asked about this. Now, remember what Iger has also said before about we're licensing stuff out now selectively. That's what they are. They have little small tiny things they're throwing out there to Netflix, but nothing that would be considered major. Certainly nothing that Bob Iger has specifically stipulated in the past as core.
Too, specifically.
Right. Not
I've
Marvel,
noticed.
not Star Wars, not Mickey Mouse stuff, none of that. But yes, he said, we previously thought, he used the word previously. He said, we'd previously thought that having everything on Disney Plus is the way to go. And he seemed to then suggest that maybe that's not the case anymore. Now, again, does that mean that that's going to potentially down the road include, Marvel and Star Wars content they make for Disney Plus? I highly doubt it. Now, what could be down the road, and what they definitely should do, is all of the damn theatrical releases that are just going to waste going to Disney Plus. And you and I and a lot of other people have said this since day one. This is the stupidest damn decision. The smartest model out there, once again, folks, is Universal Comcast, where, hey, we want to build our own streaming service, but at the same time, we actually need to get real money.
That or Sony by not having one at all.
Well, Sony well, here's the difference, though, and people bring that up, and that's a good comparison, Tom, but one thing that is different is that when you're Paramount or you're Universal, you already own not only a major American broadcasting over-the-air channel like NBC and CBS, but you have a litany of cable networks as well.
Yeah.
Sony doesn't have any of that.
No.
So for Peacock and Comcast, it's like, look, we want to build the streaming service on Peacock, so we'll put the movies for the first 2 or 3 or 4 months on Peacock, and then we let Amazon and Netflix have them, depending on what they are, for the next 10 months, and they pay us billions of dollars for that. Disney needs to move to that model, and I've been screaming that for years.
I just brought up Sony because today, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire dropped on video on demand. Okay.
Yeah.
So it made about $200 million in the box office worldwide. Hasn't quite made its money back that we know of. Although Script and I think that there's a good chance that Sony had it pre-sold in most territories to where they probably were going into this in the black.
Especially with Netflix. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Netflix,
and that was my next point. They're going to sell this movie to Netflix.
It's already done.
And they're going to pay 40, 50, 60 million dollars probably for the rights.
I would say
at
least 60 million.
At least 60 million, yeah, somewhere in that region. And there's your profit.
Yep.
You're in the black now.
Sony is pre-contracted with Netflix because it used to be like, okay, Spider-Man No Way Home was the last movie that Sony had under contract with Starz, okay, which used to be part of, or they owned Skydance, or Skydance owned them. I can forget. I think they owned Skydance. They used to have the contract with Starz. If I'm thinking it's Skydance, or I'm thinking of somebody else. Anyway, that was the last movie because that was kind of why Sony released it when it did. They needed to get it out in December because Starz was like, look, if we're going to guarantee you this much money for this multi-year contract.
Yeah, Starz used to have to deal with them, yes.
Yeah, we want this many big blockbuster. Oh, you're doing Spider-Man? We need at least 2 Spider-Man films or whatever.
And for those, just real quick, for those who don't know what you're talking about, Starz had their exclusive rights, and Starz was actually using that to boost their streaming numbers because they were showing their shit on their streaming side of things. So as soon as they would get it, as soon as they would get it, then they could say, oh yeah, that we have Spider-Man No Way Home on Starz.
That's it.
I feel like Starz never took off. Like Starz always wanted to be like HBO or Showtime, but I feel like it was never
came in like a fucking wrecking ball. See, because you guys got to remember when they first came into the game. I'm trying to remember exactly what year it was, but it was either late 90s or very mid to early 90s. They were really kind of quiet at first, and then what they did price is they had the exclusive rights to the Disney films, and I don't mean just the Disney side of things. I'm talking about everything, Miramax, Dimension, all that shit. Mm-hmm. They also had the exclusive rights to Universal, and I think Universal ended up buying them at some point. And that's where they're at now. And they also had the exclusive rights. I'm trying to remember to who else. One of the other big companies. So they had like 3 of the big companies that they had the exclusive rights for. HBO had the exclusives for Warner Brothers and Fox. And then Showtime, of course, had the exclusives for Paramount and a few other scattered things. And they lost the Disney deal. See, because
Well,
Showtime used to get all the Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures and Miramax.
Well,
films.
those, yeah, Hollywood Pictures, Miramax, but you kind of remember why one of the reasons back in those days, the latter end of the Eisner era, that they did that was because, back then, when it came to Showtime and HBO and Cinemax, they had a reputation of being much more adult. Where Starz was newer on the block and Disney felt more comfortable, we can take our general family entertainment and not have it attached to something that people jokingly call Skinamax.
Yeah, not only that, this is when HBO and Showtime started doing more original content, and Starz was like 99% all just the movies. So they were really pushing the fact that they had the big tentpole movies on there aside from Warner Brothers and Paramount, basically.
To be fair, those late night things on Cinemax and Showtime, they weren't all that naughty.
No, not by comparison to today, what you can find on fucking Pornhub today.
90s. Yeah.
Right. No, I
understand. It's the perception. It was the perception.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that if we're being honest with each other, it wasn't the naughtiest thing that they could put on there.
No, but Skinamax is known, and that's why I always said when they changed the name from HBO Max to just Max, I'm like, and they wanted to do it because they didn't want any confusion and they wanted more of a family audience. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Max is only known for Skinamax.
Yep.
Right.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Right.
So no, I don't think I would love. I say I would love to see it from a pure financial standpoint. I would love to see Disney actually make the wise choices and shift gears here. They need to license out their content elsewhere. They are not, no matter what kind of delusional bullshit that Bob Iger shovels himself every morning with his cereal about Disney Plus is somehow a competitor to Netflix. It isn't.
You think this motherfucker eats cereal?
It is.
Sorry.
No, well, it's never going to be. It's never going to be a competitor to Netflix. There is no competitor to Netflix. If you want to try to find one, the closest thing nowadays might be Amazon Prime. But Disney is never going to compete. That's just because
of the numbers, yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to do that like by merging Hulu into a single source point login for the app. It's still not going to rival Netflix in terms of, forget subscribers for a minute. I'm talking about actual consumption. When you look at the Nielsen ratings every single week, Netflix absolutely prison shanks everybody out there 70 times over. It's just not even close. Now, you might get a few other people that get one or two shows up in the top 10 every now and again. The consistency is just not there.
Well, and they killed the only other real competitor, and that was Hulu. And the reason why Hulu for so many years was such a decent competitor is because you had, 3 of the major studios that had bought into it.
Fox,
and almost all of your next day stuff from the TV would be on there. Yeah. And that's why I got Hulu to begin with.
Well, and that's why I think Comcast right now, the word on the street is that, this negotiation with Disney, of course, last night the news broke that they're going to have to go to a third party. No surprise. Disney's probably going to wind up paying another 10 to 15 billion, if not more, God knows, for Hulu, on top of the already over 8 billion they paid initially up front. That has people worried because I think Disney's cash on hand last year was something like 14 billion the same time of year. This year it's 6. It's probably because they wrote an $8 billion check to Hulu not long ago. And they're going to owe more. And rumor has it that Comcast is looking for something more than just money, more than cash. We don't know what that is. We can speculate, but they're looking for more than cash. And this is the joke I keep making. Right now, Universal is just revving up the engine and running it in drive and reverse, back and forth over Disney's half-dead body when it comes to parks and studios for sure. And the hilarious thing is that Disney is writing the check to them to pay for it. When you've got Epic Universe opening next year, that is I think has the potential to absolutely smoke Disney big time. Universal has basically already written the check. $8 billion has written the check to fund a large portion of that. They're going to write another $15 billion check to Disney, or Disney is going to write another $15 billion check to Comcast again. Look what happened. They took a big chunk of the NBA rights. Disney paid for them to take a huge chunk of the NBA rights back. Disney paid for them to finish building Epic Universe. it's hilarious right now. It's just so funny because, like we talk about all the time, Bob Iger is really good at one thing and one thing only, and that's buying other people's shit and then fucking it up. So, I mean, that's give it time. It might take 10 years like Marvel, but eventually they'll fuck it up.
I was going to say that I think his best quality is that he's really good at bullshitting people.
That's it.
You don't say.
Yeah.
He is good at it. I mean, even if we pick up on his bullshit, the investors and whatever it is, he's been just saying the same nonsense for years.
Yeah.
And they like he comes out with this suit. He has this kind of soothing voice. No matter what you say to him, he'll have some kind of weird explanation that at that moment, at least on the surface, seems very pleasant, even though you know it's bullshit.
Yep.
And it seems to be working for him.
But at what point should the investors, like, I don't know, actually put two and two together? Like, hold up. X amount of Star Wars projects have been announced for movies. How many of them have been actually released? Not a whole lot of them. We had the sequel trilogy and we had those 2 anthology movies. Like, how are they not piecing this together? Like, it's like what Gary said. Gary Nerdrotic said. It's like low. It feels like they're like low information investors, the same way we have low information voters in the world.
Yep, that's all it is.
And how are they not making that connection? Like, don't they want to actually make money? Like, I thought this whole, don't get me wrong, I'm a normie who comes like the stock market all stuff, but I at least kind of figure what these guys do when they're in this business, they want to make money. Well, maybe they would actually make money and a ton of it if they actually kind of thought for more than 5 minutes about this.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I have a theory. I think, imagine you're just kind of a normie person that has some stocks. You have some stocks in this company and that company. Maybe there's 20, 30 companies you have stocks in. Now, you, unlike Valiant and people in our circles that were scrutinizing everything that Iger does, a lot of people, they just have all these companies. They don't know what the CEO is doing. They don't know what maybe they have a few general questions, but for the most part, they just want to see that their bottom line looks like it's doing okay. And if a guy in a suit comes out and says a few things and he sounds really nice saying it, some people just, they don't dwell on it too much. It's
I mean, at first, sure, but after several years now, because think about it, we've been dealing with this problem for a few years, Price. Sorry to interject, but I feel like that part
listen, I'm with you. It's
brought up.
I don't disagree with you. The common sense would say that at some point somebody would ask questions. Maybe some people, after several years, they just dump the stock and buy something else. They just say, you know what? This guy is just kind of bullshitting us for years. He's just not really doing much. I'm going to go somewhere else. So maybe that eventually happens. But I'm just saying
it's
that
starting to now. It's
Yeah,
starting to now.
maybe.
That's what
I mean, look, we saw CalPERS last week announce that they sold, I think, 30 or 40% of the Disney stock they owned. And that's the California pension system. Now, they sold a big chunk of their Disney stock holdings last week before the earnings call. Really smart move. You know what else they did about a month before that? They voted for Nelson Peltz. So look, there's people out there wising up to this. They're figuring it out. We're hearing investors now starting to ask the right questions on the earnings call.
Yeah, the questions on the call today, right, were...
Yeah, very different.
That was the
than what we
impression I
normally
got, is that they were kind of like, okay, they voted for Iger, and now they want results, and they're getting more aggressive about it, right?
That's it. I think they're starting to have investor regret. I put out a video earlier today with a clip from the live show and talking about the Snow White thing. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, like right now, everybody in the past always pays attention to the parks. They pay attention to linear. That's what makes Disney money. The movie studios, that's such a small portion of Disney's revenue and profits. It's pathetic. It doesn't matter. Everybody here on YouTube that covers pop culture, that's one of the things I've tried to impart to folks in the last 3 years. I know everybody pays attention to that. They think, oh, Paramount's in the tank because Star Trek sucks. And they think Disney's in the tank because Star Wars sucks. No, that has nothing to do with anything. Star Trek doesn't mean a pile of dog snot to Paramount's total picture. And Star Wars, frankly, doesn't mean a pile of snot to Disney's total picture. I always bring back people to 2019. The reality is this. The biggest year Disney ever had at the box office. You had Avengers Endgame that pulled in $2.8 billion. You had 6 movies from Disney did over $1 billion that year. Avengers Endgame, the biggest movie of all time. Guess what? It didn't even equal a single average quarter of what ESPN does. That's the reality.
I believe
That's it. It doesn't matter. Now, in the grand scheme, is having that brand of Marvel for Disney a big goodwill builder? Yes. Does it help them sell a lot more toys? Yes, at the time. But
And rides.
but it doesn't even come close to what the parks generate in terms of profits. It doesn't even come close to what live television and live sports broadcast does every quarter, every year for years and years and years and years and years. This is why when you listen to the earnings calls that people, okay, they don't ask questions about movie performance because Disney, frankly, isn't a movie-making company. They're a sports broadcaster and a theme park and cruise ship company. That's what they are.
I will say, though, that the theme parks, long term, if you don't have good IPs, good brands that have goodwill around them, or people aren't buying the merchandise, I think that long term, your brand will get stale if you don't have things that are of interest to people. Whereas Universal now, they're doing all this Super Nintendo stuff. They're going to do Donkey Kong Country. They're doing Super Mario Brothers. I think that actually is a good thing that they're doing, whereas Disney kind of are falling behind with their IPs. So there is kind of a long-term effect, but I agree with you. And I've actually said what you're saying now before, that as much as I get annoyed about Disney, and I'm sure that in the big picture they're making a lot of mistakes, stuff like ESPN does help them pay a majority of their bills.
You're right. And we talked about that this morning, is that IP drain is eventually going to catch up because what they do in the movie theaters feeds the parks. And I even brought up this morning, the last big thing they had was probably Frozen, the first one. Think about since then, there hasn't been a whole lot they've had some good hits. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, hits, but no juggernauts.
What have they had that we can look at and say, besides Frozen maybe, hey, this is an IP that is going to carry merchandise sales and spin-offs and all kind of other stuffs, movies and TV shows for maybe the next decade or two. Kind of hard to figure that one out. They're trying to do that right now with Moana.
But that was just a big hit. That wasn't a juggernaut the way Frozen was. Like Frozen, that came out of nowhere and took the movie theaters by storm. Whereas Moana was a good, solid, and I'm not saying it was the movie, but I'm just saying that it was a movie that did very well. It did well. No, it didn't do bad.
Oh, yeah,
but and the music, it really resonated with the audience. But if you have to compare Moana and Frozen in terms of numbers, obviously Frozen was a smash, like a Hulk smash to Moana.
You couldn't go anywhere without someone singing that song over anything.
That's just it. That's the difference, is the music. And they're trying to make Moana 2, the live action Moana. They're at this new Lion King movie. What Disney hasn't figured out,
what a dumb move.
What Disney hasn't figured out is that the reason that these original movies were as big as they were was because of the classical, timeless Broadway scores. And when you're bringing in people like Lin-Manuel Miranda, you are rolling the dice. Good luck. He might create a hit for you. He might also completely bomb it, because Lin-Manuel Miranda is so hit or miss, it's not funny. And even though you might get something like, we don't talk about Bruno and all this kind of stuff that worked out for Encanto and some of these other films I think he worked on. Some of those things stick around for a little while.
Yeah, but none of that shit even touches Menken and Ashley.
No, exactly. People still sing stuff from Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. These are timeless Broadway classics. Even Elton John and Tim Rice doing The Lion King with the Broadway musicals in that film, in addition to Hans Zimmer's score in that film, which was masterful. And you notice when they put out the Lion King trailer last week, Did they have any Lin-Manuel Miranda music in there? Who's doing the whole thing for the new movie? No. What did they use? They used Hans Zimmer's classic Lion King score. I mean, to get everybody gigged back up, which was a smart marketing move, but it also begged the question of, well, what's the new music in the film? What's Lin-Manuel Miranda's? Are we going to get more? Are we going to get more Aquafina kind of stuff like we got Little Mermaid when he screwed that movie up? Yeah, let's see what happens.
I was told that was a hit.
Yeah, it hit the floor.
Wow.
He's really overrated. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda has always been overrated. I'm not saying that he can't do anything, but he's not in that league of songwriters. And even that Bruno thing, I think he got lucky with that. I heard that and I thought it was annoying. I mean, if people want to listen to it, I can't stop them. But
it was really cookie cutter.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
It was really cookie cutter. It was your basic, typical
You're
run of the
also,
mill.
well, that's just it. You're catering. Let's be honest. These days, you're generally catering to a
TikTok,
a lesser audience than you have in years past. When it comes to art, when it comes to music, when it comes to films, generally these days, we're catering to a general audience that is less cultured than in
You're not wrong.
most generations past.
Goddess of Whim has a pair of super chats here, and I'm assuming she wants your 2 cents on it, and I know you're running low on time here.
Yeah,
So the first one for 10, thank you, Goddess, and says, maybe it's just me, but somebody needs to get an anime licensing, get on anime licensing, give some of these anime studios like Viz Media an outlet with good subs and dubs that aren't woke on Crunchyroll. Hulu has some, like New Bleach series, and Max has Studio Ghibli. Well, doesn't Disney have a few things too besides the Bleach one on Hulu?
They probably have a few. Depends on how their distributing was set up and through who. I don't
Trying
know.
to remember.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these companies I could trust with any of this stuff, though, Goddess. That's
usually the subtitles that you get are
done by them.
They're done by like the original studio. The dubs, they usually get, that's where you get some of the weird, woke, stupid stuff or retranslations or, oh, we don't like how this sounds. It might offend trans lesbian women or something, and they change something. That's why I don't listen to dubs. I never listen to dubs. I'm always subtitles when I do anime, every time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, sometimes subtitles aren't available.
And then with that, go ahead.
I was gonna say, even subtitles, you sometimes have to research the various groups that do the subtitles and figure out which one did it correctly.
It really, it depends on which show and which studio you're looking at. But I know if I watch Attack on Titan or Demon Slayer or something like this, generally I think I'm getting a Japanese. I want to hear the original Japanese actor and see the subtitles that they use to translate. And you can usually tell because a lot of times the translation on the subtitles can occasionally be a little clunky. And if it's clunky, then you're probably getting the Japanese version or somebody, from Japan translating it, versus if it looks really clean and they start, all of a sudden something pops up about, hey, what's your pronouns? Okay, you have an American that's doing this or something like that.
It's a deep conversation. One even without going into the obvious stuff like grammatical errors and pronouns. I mean, if you watch once you get a little bit of a notion how Japanese language is spoken, and you can start to compare it to the subtitles and sort of see if it's completely not matching up. And
it's sad because there's always some retranslation or however you want to put it, because I remember that just from my old kung fu movies and Godzilla movies, and now getting them all with subtitles. I'll generally have like the English track on, especially like Godzilla movies, because that's what I grew up with, but I will throw on the subs just to see how different they are. And luckily for those, there's not usually that much variance. It's just in how they colloquialize, or if that's even a word,
colloquialize,
colloquialize or whatever you want to use. Yeah, exactly. How they kind of use those kind of terminologies and things that people are saying, as opposed to, actually changing the entire kind of meaning of what they're saying. So at least in
That's
those respects, but that was old school stuff compared to now, because
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of those
2024.
dubs have been done anywhere from 20 to 40 years ago in some cases. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to run. I got to pick up Renegade Junior. But
Thank you so much for
I gotta
hopping in,
tap.
Valiant.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And
Yeah, thanks for having
hopefully we get some more news coming out of the whole Disney thing, because I know Pro's been dropping all sorts of scoops and such. So we'll be listening in.
Yeah, like I got 2 videos out today talking about the stock price. Disney basically lost $20 billion today in market value with that earnings call.
Yeah.
And well, what happened to Snow White? We'll figure that one out soon. So
yeah, you might.
Any
I think
case-
you and Culture both mentioned that they didn't mention that in the earnings
they
call.
didn't.
Andre also has it in our upcoming video as well. So yeah.
As soon as it happened this morning, when Bob Iger was reading out live the 24 and 25 movie slate, Snow White was glaringly missing. And
Well,
I jumped in over the call and I said he did not mention Snow White. It's in the first few seconds of the video I put out a few hours ago. It's
I
like,
think it's mainly because it's not coming out this year, Valiant.
next year.
That's my hunch.
Next year. That's what I'm
Yep.
saying. This was a 2025 release, and he couldn't even mention it on the 2025 release that they already rescheduled it to. That means something's really, really bad. So, yeah.
Or the stuff that y'all been hearing about it being completely reshot is true.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, guys. See
All
y'all
right,
later.
Thanks, brother.
All right, bud.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, let's get on this Sylvester Stallone news, since we're already an hour into the show. This just came across kind of late in the game today. Peter Farrelly is directing I Play Rocky. Inside story of Sylvester Stallone's star-making performance. You know what I mean? That's right. That's right. This is what I was trying to say earlier before the show. So Peter Farrelly, he is one of the Farrelly brothers.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who the Farrelly brothers are,
Something
you
about
love their
Mary.
work. Something about Mary.
Me,
Dumb and
myself, and
Dumber,
Irene.
Me, Myself, and
Dumb and
Irene.
Dumb-
What's the bowling one?
Liar.
Kingpin.
Kingpin. No, they did. Did they do Liar Liar?
I think
I don't think they did Liar Liar.
No, I don't think they did.
Or am I mistaking it for something else?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of something else. But Me, Myself, and Irene was another one of those that they did.
Kingpin.
They had done a lot of them. The Ringer. But anyway, they split up after the Three Stooges was a horrible. Between the Three Stooges and the Ringer, they kind of split up. And Peter went off and did Green Book a few years ago. For those, do you guys remember that movie at all? Because it actually got
not
nominated for a
really.
bunch of Oscars. It had what's
Viggo
Viggo
Mortensen.
Mortensen. Yep.
Mortensen thing. I know of it, but yeah.
Is that's the one with Mahershala Ali and Viggo
Yeah,
Where he's
Mortensen?
the driver. Yep. Where
Yeah,
he's the
it was-
driver. Yep.
It was
Driving
one of the,
Mr. Daisy.
for lack of a better, I mean, it was one of the kind of woke type of movies that they tried to do before the woke era, and it kind of backfired because the family complained that it wasn't representative of the
Accurate,
guy's
yeah.
story or something. There was some issue with it.
They kind of make the Marasha's character. I don't remember the actual guy's name. I apologize. So I did see the movie a couple years back, but yeah, in the movie itself, it's funny you just said that, because now that you say that, I'm never going to be able to live that down, Clavy. You do this to me every time. It
What
literally is driving Mr. Daisy,
Yeah, sorry.
because he's a fucking dickhole through the first 2/3 of the movie until he kind of comes around, and it's you can almost predict where the movie's going, right? It's because it's this guy this white dude driving him through the racist South of like the what is it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember hearing about it.
Was it 1950s or
Probably.
I can't remember
50s,
which
60s.
era it was, which decade it was, but yeah. But anyway, because literally it's been 5-10 years since I've seen this movie, since whenever it came out. Yeah, I won Best Picture when it came out. But anyhow, so yeah, by the end of the film, of course, Vigo sees the racism and da.
Oh yeah. Sees evil in his ways.
Well, he's not so much a racist, but it's like he starts sticking up for him and stuff and doing other
Right.
things. And
Right.
Marasha, who's also kind of a tight ass himself, learns to loosen up a little bit. Some other things. It's not a bad film, but it is, now that you say that, it is really pretty much driving Mr. Daisy, because that's what driving Miss Daisy is. It's this Southern woman who's driven around by, Morgan Freeman. And by the end of the film, she learns not to be racist. You know what I mean? Like in a bitch.
Oh shit.
And Dan Aykroyd is just an idiot in that movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he played Miss Daisy's son. But anyway, so that being said, all that crap out of the way, Peter is making a movie called I Play Rocky. The upcoming film will follow Sylvester Stallone long before his action hero days. Here he's a struggling actor whose partially paralyzed face and speech impediment hasn't left him in demand by Hollywood. But betting on his talent, Stallone writes a hot script that a big movie studio wants to buy. However, he refuses to sell it unless he gets to play the lead. Turning down an offer of life-changing money, he instead works for a pittance in order to get the movie made with himself as the title character. The result is the box office hit of 1976, as well as an Academy Award juggernaut that went on to win Best Picture. So yeah, honestly, I kind of like the idea of this. It's an interesting story. I wonder how deep they're going to get into it.
Is
those who don't
Stallone
know-
producing it?
I don't think Stallone has anything to do with it, to be honest. It doesn't say
That's
here.
weird.
That is kind of
honestly.
strange
That's
to me.
kinda-
You think he
that-
would?
At the same time, I'm
yeah.
not against that because then that means we're probably going to get a more realistic look at things.
Right.
I mean,
with
a lot
Stallone,
of the
it'd be
fans
fantastic.
like us know the story, right? So it's not like it's going to be new ground for us, but it will be neat to see it dramatized. I'm getting the vibe. If they do it right, it could be like The Offer. I don't know how many of us on the panel saw The Offer besides me, but
I saw
that's
it. It
cool.
was great.
Yeah. So, and that's what I'm thinking, Price, is this is going to be kind of along the lines of that.
I could be okay with that. I wouldn't mind it if it's done well.
Yeah, it sounds like a nice
Yeah.
idea.
What's funny is, speaking of The Offer, was it Nina? I think it was Nina said it. If not, one of the Toxic Friends said it in the group. And at first I didn't think it was a good idea. And then I'm thinking about it, looking at his face. I'm going, you know what? It's not a bad casting choice. Miles Teller is a young Sylvester.
I
Stallone.
had to see him in action, and he's got the
I
build,
guess.
and I did like him in Maverick.
There's a couple other people I can think of, but they're like unknowns. Like they're just
You
people who
do
happen
that
to
kind
look
of.
and
Who
sound
can
like
really
Sly.
do that
Yeah.
Stallone thing though? Who can really do it?
I think here's the thing, and this is why I think Miles would be good at it, possibly. And this is why at first I was like, nah. But then I'm like, well, maybe, because he does kind of have the same face, and he
Yeah.
can do it in a way that isn't doing a Sylvester Stallone impression. I think
That's the big problem you have with it because everyone
Yes.
does one.
everybody does one, and you're going to want to avoid that as much as possible. And that's the problem with some of these other guys that I could think of that could look and kind of sound like Stallone, but you don't want them to be my, parody impression of Stallone. You want them playing the actual guy, not a parody of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So is this gonna be one of the new trends? We're gonna go into making a movie about the makings of a movies.
It's been
I
done.
wouldn't
We
call
had
it a
that show
brand
on
new trend.
Paramount.
It's been done before.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, but I know we had that thing. What was that show called? I was on Paramount about the Godfather, the making of the Godfather.
Well, we just brought it up, The
The
Offer.
Offer, yeah.
The Offer, yeah.
Yep.
So
And we had Hitchcock a few years back. There's been plenty of movies like about the making of movies. You can go all the way back to the one about the Wizard of Oz that I like, the one that they try to pretend never happened with Carrie Fisher and Chevy
What's that,
Chase.
Chevy Chase?
Under the Rainbow, isn't it?
Under the
Yeah.
Rainbow?
well,
Yeah,
I know about. I didn't know it was based off of that. I know about that movie, but I didn't. Okay, wow.
It's
Ed
about the
Wood-
handlers who had to deal with all the little people during the making of that movie because they were
Ed-
fucking
Yeah,
throwing orgies and
That's
parties
right.
and shit.
that's right. Ed Wood was great. It's sort of a
Ed
making
Wood's
of a
another
movie.
great example. Yeah.
That's the making of a movie, all right.
Well, it's mostly surrounding Plan 9 and Glenn and Glenda. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's, not
it's
one
more about
movie,
his
but-
life, but yeah, I was being facetious, but it is kind of
No,
though, yeah.
but it is kind of more in that era, and that's what I mean. This is obviously going to focus on that era
Right.
of Stallone's life, and this story is interesting because they kind of gave the small synopsis of it, but it's true. They were going to give him, I think it was like 100, like maybe not 150 to $100,000 for the script for Rocky, and he's like, sure, but I want to play Rocky, and they're like, no, we want Robert
Yeah.
Redford, we want somebody
Right,
else
yeah.
to play Rocky. He's like, no deal. So he ended up doing it, I think, for next to nothing. He sold the script for, and
Mhm.
he acted for scale or whatever it was, just so he could get it done. And that's the story, right? That's what we're going to hear. But I mean, even Rocky itself came from a weird place because the original story didn't even resemble what we finally get. In the original version of the script, Rocky is not a very good dude. He's kind of
Yeah.
a bruiser, and he actually throws the fight at the end on purpose so he can win money.
Wasn't he sort of basing it similar, at least onto Somebody Up There Likes Me?
Chuck Wepner was also based on his fighting.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali. But yeah. Yeah, it was a much more dour, darker film originally. And then when I don't remember at what point it changed, but because that's the thing, at that point in the 70s, that's what all those movies were. And he even said that at one point.
70s movies were dour.
Yeah, and he decided at some point, okay, we're going to shift this into a more, underdog story. And I think that's one of the reasons why it won, because at that point, when you got to remember when Rocky came out,
oh man,
I mean, you know this, Klobby, but I mean, I'm talking to younger folks in the audience. Like, yeah, every other movie was Apocalypse Now and Taxi Driver. Fucking
dude, yeah. If you were my age, when my mom and dad brought us to see that, and we were pretty young. I must have been like 10 years old. You walked out with your brothers wanting to fight everybody, and you were fighting. You were out running around the parking lot, punching each other, and just going crazy. It was that amazing. It was just
It's not how hard you get hit, but how'd you get hit and get back up. That's what winning is done. I know that's from Rocky Balboa. It's still one of the greatest speeches ever.
I love that speech. I mean, I love it. Man, it's so good.
About getting up and keep going.
Oh man, so good.
No, the first movie's got lots of great stuff in it.
Yeah,
take it to the zoo, Rock.
It's so perfect. I mean, you got the Bill Conti music. It's
iconic. God, yes.
Some of the most iconic movies. It was right around. It's funny, like that short little space of time. You have like arguably four of the most amazing movie soundtracks ever: in Jaws, Rocky, Star Wars, and Superman.
Yeah,
some of the just amazing.
On the pop side was hot as hell too. No matter how you feel about disco, I mean, you had Saturday Night Fever, which is still one of the highest selling soundtracks of all time, and a couple other ones, Urban Cowboy and
pop, but yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
With
John Travolta.
It was pretty big. I didn't go see that, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, it had like Charlie Daniels Band, Devil Went Down to Georgia, and Eagles and shit all on the soundtrack. Like, it's a hell of a soundtrack. Anyway, that being said, yeah, most people don't remember that came from that movie. Because they didn't see the movie really well. I think it was pretty big then, but it's one of those movies that got lost. Like, people don't really see it anymore so much. Not like Saturday Night Fever or Rocky, for instance, but like, yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to
that much anymore either, but you're good.
It just got its 4K release. It still gets a little love.
Okay. But I'm with you. I think this is a nice idea, though.
As long as it's handled correctly. I was worried at first about Peter Farrelly, but like we were talking about before the show, but I remembered he was the one that went off and started doing a more serious career now. So maybe, because that's the thing. You kind of got to take this seriously. You can have levity, you can have fun moments and funny moments, but the story is, you almost got to parallel it with Rocky, right? Because that's kind of what I was getting at before is Stallone's struggle to get this movie made is almost the same exact struggle that Rocky was going through in the movie to try and get himself ready for the fight.
Yes.
And then at the end of the movie, and then at the end of the movie, when the fight happens and, all that, and he considers himself victorious and just going the distance, that's going to be a metaphor for the film itself, right? Is that Stallone went the distance, and not only did he go the distance, he actually won, as opposed to Rocky, right? And don't be surprised if that's like the final blurb on the end of the movie. I bet you $5, because I was pretty good at predicting the Queen movie. I'm going to do my prediction here now for this movie. This movie's going to end with the shot they didn't use for Rocky, where it's him and Adrian walking out by themselves. That's on the poster that everybody's never seen because it's deleted from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the last shot of the movie. And as they walk out, you'll have the blurb on screen that even though Rocky didn't win in the movie, Sylvester Stallone won Best Picture for Rocky and blah, 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 blah.
But did he actually get an Oscar? I feel like he wasn't considered a producer, even though
it won Best Picture, and he got nominated for Best Actor.
He was nominated for Best Actor, but technically, I don't think he has an Oscar.
Let me look.
Well, I guess technically,
did he get it for writing? That's what I was thinking he got it for. Was writing.
I think that he was worthy. If it was in today's standards, probably he would have gotten a production credit, and they would have given him an Academy Award. But during those years,
one for Best Actor or
best screenplay or something.
He got nominated for screenplay and actor. Let me see if he won though.
I think that at the end, he only went on stage with the Oscars because they won it, and they knew that he was actually a producer on it, but he wasn't.
For some reason, I remember him with that shot with the Oscar in his hands, though. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
his-
trying to.
Because
It's
they
it.
brought him on stage because he was the one that actually he
Well,
he
the
was
movie don't get
actually the
made without
factual
him.
producer.
Yeah, but it's his movie.
It's a situation where today he would be credited as producer and he'd win an award, but at that time, and that he was also unknown, he ended up being sort of a producer on the movie. He just wasn't credited as one, I think.
Maybe, yeah. But it was still his movie, so he probably went up there.
Considering that he wrote and starred in it, definitely. He definitely deserved it. I don't think he didn't not
I
deserve the
hate how
award.
IMDb has changed their shit. They make it so hard to look for shit anymore.
Yeah.
They just list like the awards. They don't say whether they won or lost, or they're just nominated. They list them all, chunk them together. He's nominated for 2, but I don't know if he won either one of those. I type in Sylvester Stallone, Oscar wins. Just
The
says
chat
nominated.
says, D Bud Martin says nominated but didn't win, and Goddess
Okay.
Wim said that he didn't win producer.
Ever since Amazon bought IMDb, it's never been the same.
I hate it. I fucking hate it now.
It's awful.
It used to
Okay,
be
so
like a
he
nice
got
place.
nominated for Rocky twice. Nominated in 2016, and then in that's for the role. Okay, and then nominee for 77 and 77 for screenplay. And written directly for the screen, and best in actor and leading role. So he's been nominated twice for the same role, which is a rare one. He's in a rare category because I know there's not too many people that have that.
Is there anyone else that ever did?
I know what's his face for Gandalf got nominated each time.
Okay, what about Jack Nicholson playing Jake?
I don't think he got nominated for the
Chinatown?
second time out.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'd have to look. I think the only other one I can think of offhand was Al Pacino for Godfather and Godfather 2, and I think he also got nominated for Godfather 3. So that'd be 3 times he got nominated. Because I think he has the crown for being. Yeah. I'm not. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But that's the thing. People don't remember that Godfather 3 actually got nominated for a buttload of Oscars. Even though
It wasn't a good movie, though.
Well, it was a good movie, but it's just not as good as the first 2. It has major issues. I will say that. And unfortunately, that recut doesn't help much.
No, nothing.
I actually like
does.
the extended cut. Actually, have you
I've
seen
seen
the extended cut?
I've seen every cut that he did. Every now and then, it's like, oh, it's a new cut. I watch it and I still don't like it. Nothing he can do can make me like that movie.
It's basically the home video cut. It's called because it was because now they've never had the theatrical version available until recently. It's only been the other version. So yeah, you've probably seen it. Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro. Well, that was the same character, but 2 different actors. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's happened a few times because there's been a few times where people have been nominated for the same character. But anyway, yeah, you're being fucking sarcastic. That's the one thing I think everybody could agree on, whether they like Godfather 3 or not. Sofia Coppola was the problem.
Wow.
Yes, this was the other one I was trying to think of. Brian Barth, Joker. I was gonna say, wasn't it Joker that 2 people were nominated for? Yeah.
Yeah, as far as
she was a problem, but she wasn't the only problem.
Well,
yeah, but
her part of the story too. Yeah.
Although that's not the real Joker that Joker in the movie.
Unless
Joker.
you're going to get into the whole it needed Robert Duvall thing, and then
it for sure needed him, and the fact that he was supposed to be in it, and Ford Coppola became stingy over like $500,000 and didn't want to pay him. I think that's a huge mistake, and it just shows that he really just made it to pay some bills. At the end, he didn't bring Duvall. He let his daughter play a role that she wasn't equipped for, and the thing wasn't even well written. So, I like Francis Ford Coppola. I think that his early movies, especially Godfather 1 and 2, amongst my favorite of all time. But in 3, he laid an egg. And
here's my problem with the not well written bit. Yes, I will agree with you that at least a third or so of the story is ill written, and that's everything to do with the relationship with the daughter and the nephew. That's the problem with the movie. If you could have found another way of making that still have the same resolution at the end with her dying, because that's what's important, right? What's important is that she dies. And the other things I like about the movie is how it gets into the whole shit about the Vatican. and because a lot of that stuff is based in what the mob was doing at that era, and all the fucking lines that people quote from Al Pacino are from that movie. And there's a lot of great scenes in that fucking movie. Now, is it the same level as the first two Godfather? Hell no. Would it have been better with Robert Duvall? Yes. Does it necessarily need him? I don't know. I think it's better to have Al Pacino's character as vulnerable as he is without any real protection besides his sister, because she is just as bad as everybody else around him. Right?
Even Al Pacino, if you really think about it in this movie, it's like after Scent of a Woman, any movie that Pacino did, he acted like he was in Scent of a Woman, and he could never get rid of that Charlie thing that he does. And even in Godfather 3, I felt he was a bit, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he wasn't
a little bit, but that adds to the meme of the movie. That's where you get some of the best lines from.
You know, as far as meme goes, it's fine. And just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. There's some sentences there, and it's fine. But Godfather 1 and 2 doesn't need these kind of memes or anything. It's just the classic masterpieces. And all Godfather 3 has is misfires and memes. And you could say, well, there's other movies that are worse than it in the world, and maybe there are, but you have a responsibility. If you made Godfather 1 and 2, and you say, okay, this is the Godfather Part 3, that movie better be good. And I feel like the Ford Coppola was off his game. He was struggling to pay some bills, and he just said, like, you know, fuck it. You know what I mean? Here's my movie. That's what it looks like.
You know, I don't know if I can agree with all of that. I'm not going to say you're not totally wrong on some of it. I almost feel like if I were to actually have the time and I sat down and recut the film down to the stuff like this stuff here that Matthew has, like, because this is what I like about it, is the three eras of the films. You have the earliest part of the gangster era in the first film, covering both of those in part 2, plus them getting into Vegas. And then this movie is about them getting out of Vegas and getting in with the Vatican. That's what I like. It covers the main eras of what actually kind of happened with the mob. And what's, to me, if you can cut out some of that other shit and cut it down to the story that is important and somehow find a way to get that fucking love story out of there, I think the movie would be better. I think people would react to the film much differently, which is what I kind of thought he was going to do with his coda cut. Because I thought, okay, so he's going to chop it down to the bare minimum. And that's why it's going to be called coda instead of an actual Godfather 3. It's only going to be like a 90-minute movie. Oh no, he left it all intact pretty much. What he did is just recut it to where it feels like you're watching The Godfather again. And it's like, that's not what we wanted. We needed you to get rid of that other storyline somehow, some way, and make it work without that being the biggest thing that's hanging over this movie. Because the best parts are the shit with the Vatican. And they even have the scene in that film that I say that J.J. Abrams ripped off in Star Trek Into Darkness. The Joey Zaza scene where he fucking... Yes. Yeah. You know exactly what I'm... Because that's one of the best scenes in the fucking movie. When they suddenly realize you got a bunch of important fucking people in the same fucking place at the same fucking time. Something bad is about to happen. And Zaza fucking takes them all out. It's the same exact scene as in The Darkness when Shatner, or not Shatner, fucking Kirk finally realizes, oh shit, there's a bunch of important people in the same place at the same time. Something bad's about to happen. And then Khan shows up with the helicopter. Same fucking thing. They both show up with the helicopter thing and they, yeah, it's fucking...
J.J. Abrams couldn't even rip off the first two Godfathers.
So in the Godfather, it was transported from another planet? like the one in the dumb,
like from another planet.
Remember in the dumbness, it's not only stupid in itself. He transported it all the way, like from one planet to another. Not even. Anyway, just Don't we know?
Putz. Yes.
Don't we know a famous YouTuber that likes that movie and doesn't like you guys bad mouthing it? I forgot his name now. He's a real great YouTuber, Mexican something or other.
Well, the greatest YouTuber of all time.
He knows I stick up for it. That's why.
Huh?
I think that's the only reason he does. I don't know if he genuinely actually likes it.
Doesn't he and Paulie fight over it all the time?
He does that on purpose because I fight with Paulie over it. That's why.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's what I think is he's just.
I knew it was one of you guys. I forgot which one.
Yeah, I think he's just backing me up because he's my boy. He's my ride or die usually. I know he doesn't always agree with everything I say, but you know,
He agrees when you call him a YouTuber.
he won't. He don't like that. But here's the thing that's funny is I've got like 2 or 3 aces up my sleeve about him if he ever really wants to get into that argument semantically. But he forgot what they were. And I keep reminding him. He's like, oh shit. So like, yeah, he's got to behave sometimes. I wouldn't do that to him. I love the Godfather 3, but I love Tom more. See, I hear you people. I love you, Mikey.
There you
He's
go.
my boy. He's my boy. I'll be nice to him and say he's the best YouTube personality there is, even though he's not a YouTuber.
He's not a YouTuber, but he's a great YouTube personality. I think we agree on that.
So was there anything else you guys wanted to discuss? I mean, I initially had planned on doing the Stallone up front because I knew that was going to be the shorter story. It just happened to work out perfectly, actually, especially with Valiant coming in the way he did. So yeah, the Superman thing. You guys wanted to talk a little bit about that because we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. It has become a super meme.
Yes,
it has become a meme, and it has become a topic of subject that it's now taken to the fans once again to fix the wrongings of what, as Jeremy D.D. Cobra said, $1 million Hollywood. It's just absolutely insane how bad they got this suit wrong. And for Claudia and I, we are very, very vocal on our hatred of the Screw 52, as he likes to call it. And they took the muted colors of Zack Snyder, and then they brought in the new 52 collar along with the lines on the suit from the new 52 as
the
well.
collar and the lines I'll give you, but I don't see the color grading of Snyder here. I actually
it's
because he's dirty
brighter.
up here. Yeah, I was gonna say because he's dirty up here, but
it's
not quite as dark.
Zack Snyder was a 0 in terms of brightness. This is like a 3.
See,
I'd go for
I hate.
Ooh, no.
The S sucks. It's Kingdom Come S, but with yellow instead of black. The ridges all over the costumes, is ridgy, raised, whatever you want to call it. I hate that kind of crap. It's baggy.
Yeah.
It's too baggy, and the collar is horrific. Yes, it's great to have the trunks back. He's supposed to have trunks, but it doesn't matter if you ruin the rest of the damn suit.
Well, it makes me wonder if there's not another suit.
I don't know. It could be. Here's the problem, though. Actually, let's forget. Not too many people are talking about that. Well, some are. The suit I don't like, but in fact, I despise it. And so that's a big thing for me with Superman. But this is your first image you release from him that is to be seen in his suit, and you have him sitting down putting on his boots, not in some heroic pose or even just standing there like when Christopher Reeve they started putting, or initially they started putting out some stills of him standing around in the costume showing you what it looks like. This is even in the other crappy movies like the Bryan Singer garbage, the Zack Snyder garbage. It was him like standing there just looking, in the costume, and you may be it as it may. He's sitting here putting on his boots. Like, that's not all that inspiring for the very first image you release. And
that's technically not the very first image, and that's why I was saying I wonder if there's not 2 costumes.
In the costume?
Look here, in this version of the S, the red goes all the way up to a very tight border, which also looks like it's red here where it's not fucked up.
Well, you're saying this is the first image? He's not the first image released of him in the costume?
No, well, technically no, because this was the first image we got.
Well,
notice something different about the S here, though, guys.
Yeah, but
there's a very solid yellow border around that.
That's not him, though. I'm talking about him where you can see him in the costume.
I know, but now you're fair. I'm just saying this was the first image released, though.
I meant an image of David in the costume is what I mean.
Now, my point is, so I think there's going to be another costume because I don't like this costume either. In fact, it has damage, like I pointed out. It's even starting to wear off there.
Yeah.
Right? He's got damage all up across the top here. So it makes me wonder if this isn't a suit that he has for a while, and maybe even his parents helped him make. Because I made the joke of like, is it vulcanized? And then I thought about it for a minute. I'm like, maybe my joke is true. Maybe this is something his folks helped him put together.
Well,
and then the suit that he gets later on is a Kryptonian suit like this.
Why would he get it later on? If so, then they're already screwing everything else up if that's the case, because he's not supposed to.
I don't know. I'm just starting to wonder. It could be 2 different things. I don't know. We don't, and Script made a lot of good points about we don't know what's going on here. We
Yeah.
have no idea. It could be in we could just be getting he could be in fast motion for all we know, and this is just a
Which
freeze frame of
which
it.
goes to my point. Don't give us any kind of contextual problems. Just show him standing there in the outfit to show us what, and don't even give us anything that makes us wonder, like the background crap or anything, or him putting on his boot, because that makes people talk. Just show, hey, here's the costume.
Well, that's what they want, is people to talk.
Oh,
but here I think we got Green
that,
Lantern back here, I think, fighting something. Okay.
Yeah,
and I think the other thing that James is trying to tell us is that he's been at this for a while. That's what that's all about. I think, plus we get to see the curl.
Sure takes him a while to put on his boots.
And I know,
yeah, right.
You know what he's doing? He's pulling his bootstraps up, kids.
Yeah,
like, people aren't looking at it that way either. I'm trying to.
We always see Superman doing that.
Well, I mean it in the figurative, like the terminology, though. And you got to also look at it how James Gunn had already said that this is going to be a Superman that has been Superman for a little bit. Yes, he's a cub reporter, so he's just getting into the Daily Planet business. I'm just looking at it as, okay, maybe he's been Superman for a few years, day in, day out, 24 hours a day, and he needs to reconnect with humanity. And James Gunn also said his Superman is a Superman that lives in a world that doesn't believe in hope, but he does.
Did he say that?
Right?
Oh boy.
Something like that. Well, it's true. We do live in a hopeless fucking society, but we need somebody like Superman to look up to who is eternally hopeful. And I know a lot of people are looking at it as, oh, this is the Dark Dower. He's being whatever. Maybe he's being determined. We don't know that. And I mean,
I can wait on details like that, Tom.
We don't know the context. My other thing is it reminded me of this shot right here.
Yeah, but at least you could tell the suit is bright blue and doesn't have a collar, doesn't have the lines, and doesn't look like there's a battle going on that.
Right.
Well, he's sitting there in his boots.
Yeah, they're not even closely related, but this is from Superman Peace on Earth by Paul Dini and Alex Ross.
Yep.
And at that time, he was very, very dejected and almost hopeless because of what was going on in that really good story, by the way, because of how, all the bad things going on.
That makes me wonder if they're not going to use some of that.
But it's the kind of thing that works great for the comic that it was in. And it probably, I don't know, if he were adapting that movie, that book straightforward, it might be interesting, but I'm not so sure it works for a movie. Maybe more like an animated type thing, but I don't think he's using much of that. It's a great read. I recommend it, but it's, it's different.
I think that whether this is a good idea or not, with the state that the DC brand is in with the movies and how people felt about what happened with Cavill and how Gunn handled everything, nobody knows what his movie is going to be like. And when you have so little information that you just say, okay, well, here's a tease, look at this picture, that picture better be really, really impressive. Even if he thought to himself that this is very clever, I don't think that it worked the way he thought it did.
Well, you know what was impressive?
Agreed.
That was impressive. That's the first shot we got for
Cavill, yeah.
Yes.
And even back then, I was like,
fucking garbage.
Back then, look, I hate the movie. But Tom, you know how much I hate the movie, right? Back then, at that point, it was 2011, summer or whatever, 2 years before the movie came out. I was like, well, it looks like he probably didn't have trunks. I don't know. You can't tell. But I said, I don't know. It looks a Superman type of thing that you would, it looks very something that might be going on in the Superman movie. Who knows? It might be cool. We were all like, I don't know.
2 seconds of a shot where he got thrown into a fucking bank. That's what pissed me off.
I'm stupid. But I'm talking about when you just see this scene. That's all. Yeah. It's not casting any doubt. You're like, okay, he's in some kind of fight and he's raring to go, and he looks like he's in Superman action. So who knows? And it turned out to be bad. But
my point this amazing shot came from a really shit ass scene. So I think I'm going to take my chances with a shit ass shot from what could be a good movie. Maybe.
Point thing is, we weren't drawing any bad conclusions at that point. We're like, okay, well, let's see what happens from there. Then he started putting out more info a little bit later, and we're like, oh boy.
Yeah, I remember not minding shot. Like, I wasn't like gaga about it. I was just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, my fucking not bad, but not great, dude.
Then, but Bryan Singer was.
It doesn't.
I saw the movie.
It didn't.
Bryan Singer was worse. Bryan Singer was worse because he put up that terrible shot. It was just Brandon Ross standing there in that horrible costume, and everyone's like, "Well, and again, to be fair, he gave us a look at what we were going to be looking at, and we saw it right away. We're like, oh, that costume blows.
It wasn't falsely advertised.
Yeah, you can see what
he looked fine. It was the fucking costume that I agree. We were all like, what the fuck is with this costume?
It was the costume. Ugh. Turned out to be, it's not quite as bad as the Man of Steel costume, but it's close. They're both terrible.
Yeah, they're both awful. Then you see that photo once that D-Day Cobra does.
This isn't the
and it
exact
shows
version of
you-
it, but this is one of the versions of the Brandon Routh picture that first got released.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
were like, "Oh God, no! Are you serious?" A terrible
Yeah.
small ass, small
yeah,
ass.
that tiny S looks awful like that.
Yeah,
Well, that's the only thing that really sucks about it, besides the little S's on the suit that you can't even fucking
the
see
micro
anyway.
S's. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, like, and he made a big goddamn deal out of that. It's like you can't even fucking see it, Brian.
No,
Like, what the fuck?
why would you do that? But I tell you what, it's almost not as bad as these raised, like you know how they got all these lines and ridges and all this complicated armory looking, rubbery looking crap in these costumes now, like in this one. I'm like, Jesus Christ, just why, man? It doesn't have to be that complicated. But that's not, to be fair, that's not just them. Comics have been doing that too for the last couple of many 10, 15 years, where costumes have to be so convoluted and complicated. There's no simplicity to them anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we got Warrior Justice who says, "Hey everyone, Tom, where I live, a man went to the hospital for having 25 plastic horses in his rectum. They described his condition as stable."
Ooh.
25.
25% different.
Yeah, he's like, he did. Why did he go for 26?
Yeah. Well, anything else to say about Superman, guys? CC, you've been kind of quiet.
Well, for me, I don't think there's been good quality Superman on screen since last century. So
yeah.
there's nothing about this movie that tells me it's going to be good yet, but I'm not willing to say that it's going to be bad yet. I just don't know enough about it. I really hope it's a great movie because it's been so long since there's been a great Superman movie. I really want that to be the case. I just, I'm waiting. This image does not sell me.
Yeah,
but it's one image. I also agree with Tom on that. It doesn't tell us enough.
I'll tell you what. This one image won't save is that color. I'm not sorry.
I'm
that
not a
color
fan of the
is horrendous.
color.
Yeah, no, the downward
It
colors.
is-
Yeah,
Even on a bright suit.
Oh,
don't
I thought you
add
said
that
a collar. You said
No, I did
color
say
or collar?
collar.
Okay.
But I have problems with the color too. But the collar I have slightly.
Yes, I hate the fucking collar. The cape should come up underneath here like it always does. That's just the way it should be.
I wish they'd do what they did in that first 10 seconds of that Hot Tyler Hoechlin Superman and Lois show I did not like. But remember how it opened up with the Golden Age flight?
That was nice.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. And we
should have that.
I just hate because when you look at the improved shot that's getting around the internet of the improved suit,
Yeah, did you see that one, Tom?
Did
you see that one, Tom?
No.
Did you see it?
I've seen so many memes. I have no idea.
Oh no! Here,
one-
I'll send it
A
to you
fan
right
did
now.
one with that changed it to the actual real deal costume, even though he's still sitting in a chair like a dope. Looks pretty good.
It's pretty awesome. All right, so I'm gonna post it in the private.
See, I have
chat.
less of a problem with him sitting in the chair like that than I do the costume itself. So that's the thing where, like, I see people are like freaking out on so many different things, and I'm just like trying to.
Goofing, but I'm kind of just goofing on it. I don't like it. I mean,
I'm just trying to figure out. I don't even really like this.
The worst of the issues was him sitting on the couch, putting on the boot. I can forgive that, and that's pretty much on the improved shot that I said. That's all I had to complain. And what I love about the shot, not only do you get the brightness, you get the color of sorry, not the color. You get the no collar, color and color mixing that shit up. No collar, and the boots look the way they should look on Superman. And what I love, whoever made this, they gave him the sun as a background instead because Superman's power thrives from the sun. So whoever made that deserves an extra shout out for that because they were thinking about the smaller things. And then it looks like a hopeful background of Superman. So when you look at the photo, if I had to say, okay, if that was the suit supposedly of Superman for the Superman movie, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a good photo. The only thing that's kind of weird is the sitting down. Other than that, I love it. But now since that's lumped in with every other problem I have, well, now I'm just gonna be in pick apart city because of how bad the suit is.
Yep. Well, we got a long way to find out before we find out more. But they'll come out with some more pictures about, I don't know what, a few
Once
months
again,
down the road.
Guy on a phone makes that look a lot better than Hollywood did.
Oh yeah, fans always do.
Yeah. Seriously. And it shows you it once again, it's not the actor. He rocks the curl too, which is what I like to see. I like that he's got the curl. He looks tall. You can see the way he's sitting there. You can tell he's a really tall guy. Cool. And also like, and people were mentioning the bagginess as soon. Yeah. Now I first I wasn't sure how I felt about that until I saw this improved shot. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Now I can see why people thought it was a little baggy. Because when you look at the improved shot, you're like, okay, yeah, that's supposed to be like an almost like muscle tight suit, and this one looks like it's like he's wearing a size bigger than what he should be wearing.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else got anything on the soups?
I agree with Tom. I mean, you got to wait and see and stuff like that. But the fact is, we should never be afraid to at least talk about what's going on out there. And we're doing what they were. We're obliging James Gunn because what he wanted to do. He wanted to talk, and he really didn't care if people thought it sucked or thought it was lovely. They just wanted people to yak about it. So,
yeah, it's basically what it's all about at the end of the day. Should he have released something different? Oh yeah, I agree with you guys. This was not. But I was trying to look at it from an angle of like everybody's just reacting to the costume itself and or the fact that he's supposedly acting all nonchalant or emo. I'm like, we don't know that per se.
Yeah.
And my other thing that stuck out to me about the costume was just like the big no-nos. Because this person here pointed it out, because this is a thing, like these are things that that drive a costumer insane.
Right.
These are things you can't have unless there's a reason for it. Like I was also, again, trying to think of the context. Is like, they're going to be another suit. Is this the one that his folks helped him make or something with shit from the farm? Like a big ass, tractor tire and some other shit around the farm because they knew he'd be dealing with stuff that he was going to need a little, something that was going to be stronger than just your typical cloth.
I'll tell you this, and it was a slight commentary on the importance of a superhero's costume, especially numero uno. Remember, there were superpowered beings in fiction far before Superman. There were costume fighters before Superman. But the reason why he's the first superhero is they combined a costume onto a superpowered being. They called him a superhero. The fact that his name is Superman is a happy accident. He could have been called Flying Man or whatever. He still would have been the first superhero. Could have
been called Sun Man or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
And not only that, he also had the secret identity, which is also another thing.
Parcel. Yeah, that's what the whole thing means, even though there are plenty of other heroes that predate him in costumes and stuff. So he's the first one, and he's the first superpower being to don a costume that acts as a symbol for who he is and another person, a persona. And that's why superheroes are very visual characters. Their costumes really do matter. People say, hey, costumes don't matter as long as they get it clothes. So whether you agree with us or not, whether you like it, fine, this one, or you like any other ones that we don't like, that's costume on any superhero is very important because it is part and parcel of what the genre is. And largely for about 60 to 70 something years, Superman's costume, the minor tweaks here and there, stayed mostly the same. Like I said, tweaks, yes. Changes, a few.
Yeah, I've made that point before too, yeah.
All of comics especially. And then even in media, for the most part, really didn't change drastically in media until Mr. Singer. And even he didn't. Then, of course, on after that. So, it is important. Like if you're saying, who cares if the movie's good? All I'm saying is don't discount the meaning of a costume of a superhero. Although they all change in movies, but especially superhero numero uno, like the big S, the big red S, as we call him. Just wanted to say
well,
that.
I don't think they'll ever beat the Christopher Reeve one. That's part of the problem.
They won't. But you know what? He wasn't wearing a movie costume. He was wearing it right out of the comic books.
And here's the other one that the change actually worked for me. This is one of the few times
it never worked for me.
I know you don't like it, but I love this look for Batman.
I mean, I don't. It's not my favorite. Is all I mean.
Oh, I love this costume.
Hell, the
And I
costume,
love this bat symbol too.
I'll give you this: without that costume, he wouldn't have looked anywhere close to Batman, and he still didn't. Look like
Right,
Batman.
probably not.
That's a
No.
beautiful. That's a great toy, though. I got used to it, Tom. I'm just saying, Soups is the one that I'm the most protective of when it comes to the costume. Although
Totally
Spidey,
fair. Totally
Spidey,
fair.
and a couple of other ones too.
Mhm.
You know. Yes,
Mhm.
Nicholas. I am old.
I'm I'm
old,
just
but not wise.
I may not be as old, but I'm gonna continue to be stubborn about this Superman suit, and I'm not letting that go. Fuck that. This is so easy for them to get it right, and they choose to want to do what they want to do, and then they continue to go off stuff of material that is absolutely horrendous and borrow from that. I mean, it's already bad enough that they bring in Tom King for this DC universe for the movies. Now they're just adding insult to injury when they're bringing in the New 52 suit.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Raimi for the most part got the Spidey costume pretty close. I mean, there was some slight differences.
Yeah,
There was
slight
things about that
differences.
drove me nuts though
Yeah,
too, like
but it was
the
pretty
raised
close.
webs and shit.
Yeah,
And
but at that time, I expected it to be way worse.
I thought it was gonna be worse too. No, I
No,
like that
was
suit.
pretty
I don't
close.
love it, but I do
No, I
like
don't
that
love it
suit.
either.
I
It was-
actually
it was
liked
passable.
I actually liked Tom's
Gar-
suit better than I do of the other two.
I don't like his.
I know,
I like
but
his
to me, at
black
least it's the
suit
right colors and the right.
No Way Home.
Actually,
I
Andrew
like
Garfield, again, in those lousy Andrew Garfield movies, the costume looked a little bit better.
Oh,
The
the
second,
costume-
Oh, I hate that one. It looks like a
Brilliant.
fucking basketball.
Yes, no, the second one,
We're
not the
talking the
first one.
second movie.
Well, maybe that. Well, of course, the best one to me so far is the one that's at the end of Spider-Man: No Way Home, where he has the actual
That's my overall
That-
favorite.
that's
old
the best
school
one.
Spider-Man,
Best one
1980s,
ever.
70s through 80s
But remember,
costume. Yeah.
in the year 2000, when or where it was when the first Raimi Spidey came out, we other than Christopher Reeve, we had not seen a costume that was anywhere close to accurate in these superhero movie, other than maybe or superhero
Judge
close to-
Dredd.
Rocketeer, the Phantom, a couple of them. Judge Dredd was a pretty good costume, but it wasn't really a costume so much as the uniform. But yeah, it was pretty good. But it was rare. Okay,
I
how
did
about that?
like the black costume from Spider-Man 3.
No,
I thought that looked good
Oh.
with the silver.
Did you?
that
I
was
know.
The silver
I
webbing.
hated that.
I hated it.
See,
Well, to be fair, to be fair, Tom, I hated it in the comic book too, so it wasn't just that. Yeah.
see, okay, no, see, I didn't mind. See, the problems I had with the red and blue outfit,
Mhm.
I didn't have so much with the black outfit because they accentuated and looked better on there. I liked the silver webbing, and I liked how it looked on there compared to the
At
other
that
way.
time, I was just
But, yeah.
surprised Spider-Man actually was not only looked close, but he was actually moving around like
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
That's true. No, and that's
So-
totally true. But
They
yeah, we'll never
they-
get.
they never pleased
Otherwise,
me.
the only other one that I would say would be Adam West Batman.
Yep, and it was based on a certain iteration. As far
Yeah.
as the Dark Knight detective type Batman, one live action fan film did it right. That was it Batman Dead End or whatever. But the story was
Yeah, it's
stupid.
all
The story was
right. It
stupid.
kind of shows you why you shouldn't do it with cloth though,
The
and
story was
Batman.
stupid.
And that's where I kind of liked Affleck. I didn't like the bat on Affleck's costume, but for the most part, otherwise, I thought Affleck's costume looked okay. But they if they had a better bat on it,
I hear you.
yeah, there's that for because I liked how they did the gray, but it wasn't cloth, but it looked
Had the big
it
black
moved.
bat.
Yeah, it moved right, and then you had the black cowl and the black cape, but you had the gray costume. I liked that.
Yeah, I like blue and gray myself, but I'm weird.
Yeah, the blue is nice too. It'd be cool to see it. That's the one we haven't gotten live action outside of Batman and Robin. He does have a bluish cowl and
Right.
cape, but it's so dark you can't
Yes.
fucking tell. But like we've never gotten the full on blue and gray Batman in live
No,
action
and
since
never
Adam
will.
West. Probably never will. You're right. I was kind of hoping for it in the Justice League one because we kind of got there because he has that bluish gray
Yeah, yeah.
outfit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, are we getting there to where he's going to do like a later? Because, in these movies anymore, we expect Batman to have 12 different fucking outfits. So, because that's what they learned with the toys is you put Batman in a different outfit and he'll sell. It doesn't matter.
Yep, Rorschach was accurate. What it's worth.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
So-
actually, most of the ones in that movie, that's one thing you can give
comedian
know if-
was.
for the most part. I mean, Silk Spectre looked pretty good too, from my memory, unless I
It looked good, but yeah, she wasn't quite the comic, but yeah, it looked good. Now Rorschach's perfect. Of course, it was Jack or Haley, but
that's
Night
easy
Owl was-
too. You just
Night
put
Owl
him in
was
a
relatively
goddamn
close. Yeah.
yeah. You just put him in a trench coat and a hat. So
Someone said in the chat said Peacemaker was like, yeah, he did. I mean, as silly as it was, Peacemaker did look good. He looked like the comic book actor.
Yeah.
Like it.
But all right, we're gonna wrap this up here because I know Klobby, you got stuff going on tonight, or is that
Not
tomorrow?
tonight, man. That's a Nick. Got the
Yeah,
Toxic
Nick's
Tuesday.
got Toxic Tuesday where he's gonna do some dodgeball. I think he stepped away, so I can plug that for him real quick.
I could
That'll
do
be
it.
coming up here in a bit.
That's a bold
Or go ahead and
strategy,
do it.
Nick.
Y'all should come out to Toxic Tuesday tonight. It'll be huge and diabolical. Tom's going to be stopping by. We're going to do dodgeball.
I don't know if I'm gonna be by, but yeah,
Tom's
I didn't
not even
originally
going
watch
to
it.
be there.
I might pop in.
He may be there.
There
I
you
gotta
go.
finish watching the rest of the Planet of the Apes 3 because I'm going to see the fourth one tomorrow. So
Oh, you mean the new movies? You mean?
yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Nah.
The first three were great. Oh, like arguably one of the better trilogies and remakes we've had in a while, but
I kind of didn't mind the first one too much as a file of it.
well, that's the
fan
best
original.
of the three, yeah.
But after that, I couldn't get into the second, third. I didn't watch the third. I didn't bother with the third, but I think I watched the second one. And didn't
The
get
second
into that
one's
one.
not so bad. I like how they have, that the humans just want to get the power going and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I don't mind that story so much, but it just feels kind of also Rand compared to what's going on in the first and third. And
Well,
the
in
third,
fairness- In fairness, Beneath isn't very good either. The second one,
no,
the
that's the
original-
problem you have. Well, and that's what's cool about these movies. They took the last two movies and they just kind of expanded upon those.
Right.
So they didn't even try to remake the original first film. So I give them props right off the bat for doing that. And they
Right.
took what was kind of some of the lesser Apes films, but took the interesting ideas in those
Battle.
Apes films.
Yeah.
And actually ran with them in a little bit different direction. And I love Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Like to
I
me,
did
that's
like
like
that.
a
I was shocked that I liked that, but it was pretty good.
fucking amazing movie. And I watched it again last night for the first time in a couple of years, and I was reminded, like, oh my god, this movie was fucking good.
Way better than that Tim Burton trash.
Oh god, yes, and by far, like that Rise of the Planet of the Apes is one of the only other movies I'd put nearly on the level as the first film.
I've never seen the movie that Bootzilla's mentioning, and the chat says "Tired of the Planet of the Apes."
That's one where they
actually-
put Dr. Zaius in a rest home.
I
But there was
actually was
"Tired of the Planet of the Apes." So good.
I was offered to see the new Planet of the Apes today, but the
Mhm.
problem is
Oh.
that between this and another stream,
There's
I-
showings tomorrow too, and it comes
Yeah,
out Thursday.
I guess
it's
so.
not
I
that
mean-
special, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I guess if it was like the new Superman movie, for all sakes of just my curiosity and for reviewing it, I'd be there. But for Planet of the Apes 4, I feel like if I see it tomorrow on Thursday, it's not really gonna
Yeah.
make much of a
well,
difference.
that's what I mean more so. It's not like you're seeing it a week early.
Right, and also it's
It's
not a
only 2
movie
days or a day.
it's not a movie that I think everybody's like so
I
excited.
don't know.
to hear.
This movie's, I guess they're saying it's looking at $130 million opening, so that's pretty good.
I don't
and
know.
that
man.
last
I'd
makes
be
it,
surprised.
I could see that actually. I think it's gonna do a little less, but if it made that much, I wouldn't be actually surprised.
Michelle, if you guys have never seen the
Watch
original
the
Planet of
original.
the Apes,
Yes,
yes.
the original
Mhm.
only. You could stop right there, but you might want to
Well,
watch the
Rise
other
is
one.
good too, but like no, the original.
No,
Well,
I'm talking about it's 1968.
Nobody even remembers what those last three movies were.
I
mean,
do.
I saw them, but I can't.
And that's
even
why I like the remakes, because I actually like them, but I know they have issues and they only got a third of the budget the first film had.
You
Yeah.
should watch-
They're
yeah,
all
these
right.
late-
I didn't hate those movies. I kind of like them, but I don't know. I felt after the third one that was like a good place to wrap it up. And now they're like, there's a fourth one. I guess I'll go see it.
Oh,
but
you
I'm
mean
not
on the newer
excited.
ones? Yes, I
Some
agree
of
with
the
you.
new
That
ones.
the
But
new one
the-
should have ended the way it did. Like the new
Right.
ones, like the third film is, although it's like the least, it's still a pretty goddamn good movie.
Good
and it
movie
ends-
ending.
Yeah, and it ends with basically we see the entire arc of Caesar. That's fine. I'm great with that. That was a great fucking trilogy. I went and
Yeah.
seen all three of those movies in the theater the same day while I seen the third one early. Because they had a special fan event, like it was like a week early or a few days early, where you got to see all three films in one day. and then
Nice.
you know, culminated with the premiere of the third film where you got to see it early. So yeah.
But those ladies should watch the original 1968 classic.
Oh yeah,
Might want to watch
definitely
the other.
watch the original.
You might want to watch the other films that follow it from that point, or you may not. But watch the original, at least with Charlton Heston. Battles,
Yeah.
Beneath
Beneath's
all
the
right.
least of the bunch, actually, in
Escape
my
is great.
opinion.
I don't know. Battle's pretty bad, but
Well, and that's maybe because
Escape
I
and
like it just-
Conquest. What? Oh, go ahead. Beneath.
Conquest and Battle are pretty much what these new films are based on, is what my point was.
Yeah, no, but Battles, but I mean, probably better than the new stuff. But yeah, so but Beneath and Escape and Conquest, you at least watch the first 4 of the originals. Yeah.
Well, if you plan on watching the new ones, I say watch all 5, because then you get a better perspective on the new films and you see where they came from, what they did,
Right.
the things they cherry picked.
If
And
you
then
watch
you're like-
Rise, you might want to watch the other ones. Yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying, because I think you'll get a little deeper appreciation, because there's Easter eggs. And like I said, Rise and those trilogy are more based on the last 2 films of the original series than they are anything else, even though there's
Yeah.
a bunch of callbacks to some of the other stuff. But yeah, like, you know, get your
Nothing-
hands off me, you damn dirty ape. And
nothing touches
shit
the
like
real
that.
deal, though. Nothing touches.
oh no, but that
original.
Rise was just, and again, I was reminded last night after I got done watching it, I'm like, that's a damn good fucking movie.
It is.
Like,
It
that's a
is.
10 out of 10. That's a goddamn good,
I like it.
perfect
It was-
fucking
it was,
film.
It was pretty decent. I met those. All right.
And you
I'm
are
hardcore the
into
original.
that story by the end of the movie. You're rooting those fucking apes on. Like,
Yeah. Oops.
oh, who do we lose? We lost
CC
CC.
said
He
he
had
had
to
to
go get
go.
some dinner. Okay, well,
Oh,
check
sorry.
out CC Karaoke. I was going to give him an out, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Some
The
men
tire swing
prefer-
of the Planet of the Apes.
Some men prefer to slide out quietly.
Well, I'll tell you this about this new one. The one thing it has the weirdest fucking title, and somebody said it. I can't remember who said it, but they
What?
said you can't have "of" twice in a fucking title.
Oh, but
what's-
they will.
What's the title of it?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Of the Apes. Kingdom of the, oh,
Of the twice.
wow.
Kingdom of the
Of the-
Planet of
of
the
the-
Apes.
Wow, that's evil. They should do that. Wow, dude. I didn't realize that. My goodness.
It
is
almost
different.
sounds like a parody.
Yeah. That is different, isn't it?
When you get the of the in there, it starts to
of
sound
the-
like a
of the.
Mel Brooks movie.
That,
A Mel
doesn't
Brooks
work.
production of the off-Broadway play of the of the
That doesn't work.
producers.
that's awful.
Uh,
Oh shit.
no, I hope the movie's good. I'm not. It can only impress me because at this point my expectations are low. There's no Andy Serkis. Doesn't have Matt
Ooh.
Reeves or
Oh,
what's
Matt
his
Reeves
face?
is not involved in
Robert
it?
Vaughn or whoever it was who did the first. Who the hell was it who did the first one?
Andy Serkis, right? In the first
The
couple?
director I'm talking about.
Oh, wasn't Reeves?
No, he didn't do
I
the
don't know who
first
did
one.
The first one. I don't know.
And that's why I think his movies actually turned out good because he inherited it. Rupert Wyatt, that's who directed the original.
Mm.
There you go.
Yeah, I loved the tone of that original film, man. It was they just nailed it in my opinion.
Well, you mean Rise, the original remake?
Yes.
I'm just
that's
trying to differentiate for people.
the
who are wondering,
original film is a fucking masterpiece.
but it's one
Right?
of my
Like
top,
to me, that's up there
my
with
top 10 movies. I love it so much.
Gone with the Wind, Godfather, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes. That's in just that pantheon. You can't like they're
No.
they're the kind of movies that's the reason theaters
I've
exist.
watched it so many times.
Yeah.
So this Wes Ball, this is his overall 4th movie feature film he's directed.
Yeah, Wes Ball is the director. That's the other thing.
And he did the 3 Maze Runners previously to that, which
And
I
I've
didn't
never
see
seen
any
them.
of those. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
see them. So I have nothing based on it. Looks like he is a producer as well on Kingdom of the
Kingdom
So
of-
small resume. Obviously, I'm assuming since Maze Runner was a what kind? Oh, the sci-fi. Okay, so he's got big budget movie experience. Okay,
And I know Nicholas is bringing this up because I said there's no Andy Serkis. Well, here's my point. I know Andy Serkis wouldn't play the same character. He
Mhm.
could be playing his son, though. He should be playing his son because that was the gimmick that worked so well with the original Planet of the Apes films. Is that Roddy McDowell was in almost every single fucking version of him, whether he played
Beneath,
whether or not he played Cornelius or the character he played on the series. I'm trying to remember the name of
Galen.
Galen, thank you.
He was brilliant.
So
on
like
the series.
he was always there, right? So like to me, you should have Circus there.
Yeah, he was Cornelius, he was Caesar, and he was Galen. Except he wasn't Cornelius in the second movie.
That's true. He played 3 different parts. That's right. I forgot. You're right. Duh. That's what I was getting at. Because he played his son already. That was my point. Yes.
Yeah, he played his own son. That's right. He played Caesar in Conquest.
Which I thought would have been a cool callback if you had Andy Serkis come back to play young Cornelius. That's another thing I like about these movies is the names they give the characters. Right? Because you had Bright Eyes as the name of Caesar's mom. And you had Cornelia.
So go ahead. I'm saying at the end of Escape, they named the baby Milo after Dr. Milo, but in the next movie, in Conquest, they were calling him Caesar.
Well, that's because he named himself, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so they use that name, and then they actually have the one orangutan named Maurice after the actor's name who played Dr. Zayas.
Maurice Evans. Yeah.
And so I love all the little names they give everybody and Rocket and all that stuff. I mean, that to me part is cool. And I love how they actually could tell the difference between the apes on like Transformers and shit like that. I was sitting here trying to figure out who the fuck is who. I know who Koba is.
Yes.
He's the bad guy from the second and first one, but yeah. Well, he wasn't bad in the first one, but he's
Indeed.
But yeah, no, I thought that trilogy was great. I'm in the middle of part 3 right now, so I got to finish that up.
There you go. There you go.
I know Roddy couldn't be in these, but I mean, they could have had Andy Serkis take over that mantle, right? Of just continuing to be in the movies.
Yep.
That being said, Warrior Justice sent in $5 and said, I think the suit is okay. I want the suit to be like a priest pants at all boys school tight. I'm back at y'all. I'm back, y'all, and I miss you guys. Clobber Lane rant. Yes.
Hey, Warrior. Good to see you.
Thank you, Warrior. It's funny he's not actually sending us a joke for once. But yeah.
Yes, sir.
But with that, let's get out of here, guys. So check out Nick. You're going to be talking about dodgeball here in about 15-20 minutes.
Yes, sir. We're talking about dodgeball. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So why don't you come hang out with us for Toxic Tuesday as we talk dodgeball tonight? It's going to be huge. It's going to be fast. And, well, we'll even see that crazy JP dude from Grandma's Boy, before Grandma's Boy. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun time. It's been a fun show. And Superman
Rip Torn is a fucking maniac.
I love that guy.
Oh, he's so good. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. So yeah, it's gonna be fun talking about this one because it seems like it's one's kind of like gone by the wayside in terms of memorability. But when I watched it, I'm like, I fell in love with the movie all over again. So yeah, should be fun. Come hang out if you haven't. This is your first time. Tonight's a good time to make this your first Toxic Tuesday. It's gonna be huge. Thanks for having me, Tom.
Glad to have you here as always. Price, what you got going on?
Well, right now I'm going to go to Diabolical Souls, also known as Gooch, and it's Scavenger's Reign episode 9 that we're reviewing. And then at 11:45 p.m., I'm going to be doing The Night Owl with Dread Roberts, and you can check that out on my live channel, Price of Reason Live.
All right, sounds good. Clobby, did you get to finish up your plugin? I know you started.
Oh, nothing tonight. Sorry, that's no problem. I don't know if Loki's going to have the round table tomorrow night or not, but I'll have my wild card Wednesday night and then the clubhouse on Thursday night, and Fantastic Fridays reviewing FF comics, the Kirby run on J-Man's channel on Friday, and then of course, I'm hanging out with Nick and the gang on Friday night, and then Saturday night Star Trek. So just the usual shows. Thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Glad to have you. And of course, I will be eventually somewhere's doing something, probably morning show. I may try to hop into Toxic Tuesday tonight. I didn't get a chance to watch Dodgeball, and it's been like 5 years since I've seen it, but maybe I'll pop in for a bit. I do like the film. It is very funny.
Yes.
Well, we always appreciate when you give any time to slide in.
But on that note, I want to remind everybody to check out my new songs, plural, that have been dropping, and check out the Lost Classics channel as well. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. It's fun. So with that, take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time.
Good night, everybody.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got